Hello, what have we here?
You're wrong.
Damn! What the hell was that?
Game over, man. Game over.
You're wrong.
You finished?
Well, I didn't think you had it in you.
I'm your huckleberry.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, friends and fiends, and welcome to The Week in Geek. Yes, that's right, folks. It's the spin-off you never knew you needed, and it's finally here. Rejoice and be glad, which is just another way to say, grab a cold one and enjoy a couple of idiots running down the entertainment news. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the saucer section has been fully separated in an effort to contain The Week in Geek. It has been given its own show rather than just consume more of our regular show, or annexed, as I would say. But this is what we're going to do. We're going to give this a try. So I am your Uncle Todd, and with me, as always, is the man they call Tim. This is his show, so we are going to let him proceed with all of this, all of his internet sleuthing bits and bobs, all of the things that we would normally talk about at the beginning of our free-range AC is going to be here in this, I don't know, I mean, to be quite honest, I just looked at it and said, you know what, if Uncle Corny can have two shows, damn it, we can have two shows as well.
Indeed.
And he's going to probably sue our ass for gimmick infringement. We're going to have to go to Wrestler's Court with Uncle Corny.
I've got this feeling deep inside.
You're going more Christopher Walken here. I kind of like it.
But what it is, I don't know. My vision starts to change. My mind gets filled with rage. I raise my fists up to the sky. What do you see? The fear I see when I look in your eyes makes you believe I'm one of a kind. One of a kind. The fear I leave in the back of your mind makes you believe I'm one of a kind. Hey, 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 one of a kind. Hey, 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 one of a kind. Who, sir, is that theme song?
I got no bloody idea.
That is one Rob Van Dam. WWE theme, one of a kind, done slightly Christopher Walken, and then toward the end, a little Shatner-esque.
That was very, because when you started, I was like,
I know, I was starting to play with my intonation a little.
I like it. I like it a lot.
How are you, my friend?
I'm doing all right, sir. Happy
Excellent.
Wednesday to you, as this will be premiering on Week in Geek Wednesday.
Salute.
Is what we're going to be talking about. Of course, we're recording this Tuesday, so at what time this is going to post on Wednesday?
Okay, but
maybe noon. Let's
just
go with
a little
that.
free advertisement. As we post this on Wednesdays, Victor Wooten has his Wednesday Wisdom. Do check that out before you listen to our Chuckleheads, please, on Instagram.
Well,
so,
I think they're going to have a chance to, because I don't think this is going to make it too early, because we're going to be recording. It is 9:10 p.m. here on the East Coast, and you're listening to Perspectives.
That's right, you are.
And we're just getting our asses started, so this could be very interesting to record two shows in one night.
I'm on vacation.
I know you are, but I'm not.
Okay. All right.
There are those who would maintain that have been on a mental vacation for 49 years, but
indeed.
actually, I can't argue that whatsoever.
As we are want to do, so
Yes.
since we've detached the saucer section, as we typically will do here, we'll do some Raw cheers and jeers. I missed Raw last night due to what I will share in my Week in Geek. Sorry, not my Week in Geek, and my And Another Thing, not for this particular episode, but the actual free range Idiocy episode we'll be recording in a smidge later on. But sir, any call outs on your side for Raw, or do you want to just jump right to the articles?
Well, so a couple things here. I'm going to give a cheer to having an Usos reunion. However, a bit of a jeer. I feel it's kind of a knee-jerk reaction to a lot of the online hate to Jay's squash match last week.
Which that I missed too. I was on a work trip and I completely didn't watch Raw at all, and I read some stuff about that, so I'm a little lost on that front. Apparently, he squashed someone, and the fan base is now
Austin Theory
rioting against him or something.
I think it's just mostly he's still over like Rover for the live crowd, but I think there's more people online who are just kind of like, what the hell? Like nothing is really happening. I'll get more into that because I have one final kind of jeer for this whole thing. I only saw half of Raw, so I'm going to kind of comment a little bit on the beginning. Here's kind of a a jeer or a note. As usual, Jay's reaction gets more reaction than his match. His entrance gets a huge pop, and then at the end of the match, his theme gets another huge pop. I'm just kind of wondering if people just love doing that yeet dance thing, and it could be anybody. In which case, Austin Theory's like, damn it, if only. I'll give a cheer to John Cena for his promo work. I think, it's funny. My wife was kind of hanging around the living room, even though she hates wrestling. And she had been watching like the week before, and she hates wrestling. And I'm like, why are you doing this to yourself? Like, what? Why are you like, flagellating yourself, with a cat of nine tails to atone for some sin, apparently. And she said, there's a lot of talking. Like, there's a lot of talking. And I'm like, well, this dude's been a good guy for like 20 years. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of work to be done in order to really try and gin up the level of hatred that you really want for this. Mm-hmm. And I feel like he's doing that. And I feel like he's doing it in a very, very good way. Yeah. Like, even to the point where as he got the thing going and the crowd starts chanting what, and he then pointed that out. Mm-hmm. And that, like, he had just tricked everybody into doing that. And I'm like, oh, that's good. That's really good.
Well, I did see that part, and I did enjoy the fact that he's just like, you guys make this so easy. Mm-hmm. Like he's not getting frustrated by it. He's just saying, yeah, you lemmings, this is what you do. And I know how you are. I know who you are. I know where you are, and I'm used to it. And this doesn't bother me at all. You are proving me right in every way, shape possible.
Yeah, and it's so meta, and it works on so many different ways, levels, which I do appreciate. I really appreciate that. That's the one thing about this I'm really digging. Yeah. Let's see here. A jeer here for we have the Judgment Day once again chasing gold. And my note here is yes, more of another faction chasing gold, so they have all the gold. Haven't seen that in a day or two. Yes. Meanwhile, the LWO is just out here glad to be getting a paycheck, and that's completely fine. Like, I told, in all honesty, I identify more with the LWO in that respect. Like, just happy to be here, man. Just happy to be here. Yep. That's got to do something about this. Like, American made Judgment Day, it's like the same thing, just different people. Like, there's got to be something going on. There's got to be some kind of story. It's lame.
I go back to a few episodes ago. I really think they missed the boat. I think they missed the boat on transitioning the tag titles to American made, possibly even transitioning the IC title to IV9. Like, there was an opportunity a couple of weeks ago to legitimize the three of them, and when you had all of them lose, I was pretty much in opposition to that, based on my comments a few episodes ago. But yeah, it's I'm I get they're the Viking Warriors, or whatever their name is,
War Raiders.
The War Raiders. They haven't had the belts for that long. I get it. They're trying to give them a little bit of a run. Not Ivy Nile. Lyra Valkyria has just, she's the inaugural IC champion. You don't want to job her out right away, but they've already kind of done that with, the Elimination Chamber qualifier matches. They had her, job out to Bailey, which was kind of weird. So I don't know. They're in a tough spot because they probably want to give their champs a little bit of space to establish themselves. But I'll be honest, I don't know. I think a title change to Ivy Nile would have been somewhat interesting, and maybe have Lyra Valkyria chase a little bit. So I don't know.
Yeah. I do give a cheer for Lyra Valkyria eking out another win. It was a decent match.
How was the crowd reaction to her? Because that was a comment I had last time. I don't feel it.
It's very tough because I feel like the way that WWE is mixing their live sound is very tough to get a feel for the live crowd in the entrances sometimes. And I think that's partially by design to hide maybe some of that. Yeah. I do think it's kind of this weird thing where you have Lyra and Raquel Rodriguez, and it's kind of like this Korea Vietnam sort of like proxy war for the superpowers of Bailey and Liv. You have those two kind of fighting through and I'm like, okay, I guess, but where is this heading? Like, what is the payoff here exactly? That sort of thing. Yeah, I'm kind of underwhelmed by what they've been doing with Lyra Valkyria. Um, I don't really watch SmackDown because I have my brother-in-law's cable package is no longer available on my app, which kind of sucks. So I'm not getting that for free, so I'm not paying. So I don't see SmackDown, so I don't get to see Chelsea Green. So I'm not sure what's going on with her. Here, one more note before I get into my major jeer here. I think it's very, very interesting that we have Steph's new show, which is I think it's Wednesday. So the night this day this premieres, I think it'll be on.
Yeah.
And it's on like Hulu, Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, like all that. It's just kind of amazing to me when I thought about this because one, I'm like, I'll probably catch an episode at some point, like when I'm eating lunch or something. I'm struggling for something to watch.
Mm-hmm.
This has got to be almost 10 or 12 different outlets that WWE now has for content between Peacock, Tubi, CW, USA, Netflix. Like all they've got everybody is pimping their content. I'm like, it's kind of ridiculous. Like they are not monogamous at all when it comes to content providers. Like they are essentially running around, like, hey sailor, like it's insane. They're everywhere. They're on A&E. They've got their deal with them for content going there. It's like WWE is literally everywhere. It's kind of crazy just thinking about that. My big jeer here is this month and a half between Elimination Chamber and WrestleMania, I kind of thought might be cool. I'm not digging it. It's taking way too long to get to WrestleMania. And I think part of it is the fact that they're trying to build the John Cena thing, but also there's so many other things that have already been highly anticipated that they're either trying to tweak or they're really trying to ramp up. And I'm like, it's taking forever. We're in a holding pattern and it's 3 weeks to go. 3 weeks to go. And now we're on week 3 of Cody trying to sell this thing. We're on week 2 of John Cena coming out and doing the first promo. And then week 2 of Cody come out and confronting him. The first week they just had Cody come out because, Cena's a part-time dude. The Rock is nary to be seen after buying John Cena's soul on eBay. We haven't heard from him whatsoever. Like, it feels just like, just get on with it.
Yeah.
Like, let's just get on with it. Like, this is just taking for friggin' ever. And the worst of all is Jey Uso and Gunther. Oh my sweet good Lord. I can't imagine I don't even know if anyone's going to want to watch this match when it finally happens.
Yeah.
Because everyone was kind of excited about Jey and he got a great reaction the first couple weeks. And now there's been little to no character progression for him. Gunther seems like kind of a goofy ass, conniving heel and not like a dominant guy at this point. I couldn't care less about that match now. Like, there's nothing about that unless they have some big rabbit to pull out their hat in the next 3 weeks. Like, that time has done the exact opposite for that match.
Yeah,
that is really taken a big shine off of that. And I mean, some of the other matches that they're pushing, like Rollins, Punk, and Reigns, like, okay, yeah, that's going to sell tickets no matter what. Cody versus Cena, even if we only had 2-3 weeks to promote that, that's going to draw. Otherwise, like, I don't know. But yeah, so that's kind of a big ass jeer for me. I did not get to see a Punk promo.
So,
do you any thoughts on that?
Yeah, my cheer on the Punk promo is just masterfully delivered. Once again brings up the fact that neither Reigns nor Rollins have beaten him without one helping the other. He again, kind of stoked the fires a little bit of Reigns starting to understand that while he has his wise man, the wise man is not solely Romans, and kind of egging him on there. And yeah, so just did a great job. I mean, it was a short promo, but I think it did the job of continuing to push, the storyline forward of what he's wanting to do and the fact that he's more than willing to take both of them on, in a triple threat match. So that was great. I didn't have the sound on when I watched this, but I saw the Jimmy Uso slap heard around the world on Gunther, which was which I thought was actually pretty good. That's a minor cheer for me, but again, I have no sound. I had no sound going. I have no story context for what was being said or anything. So maybe it was a goofy thing that they did there, but given recent events and what Gunther's been trying to do with kind of torturing Jay every week, I thought it was kind of cool for his brother to give him a little yeet slap across his face. And then the last one with Cena and Rhodes was great. I love that Cena is laying out, what he's going to do, why he's going to do it. That he's taken, all the years where it was goodwill and, happy-go-lucky John Cena in a way, and now he's turning it into, he's internalizing all of the grief that he's basically gotten from the fans all these years, and is now going to, to put it in his words, take the championship home. And let the WWE create another toy belt, for their fake champion to hold. So
he's going to ruin wrestling for everyone.
Yeah. And so they're really, it's intriguing because it's, there isn't an end that you can predict, clearly predict on this one, going into, I think his turn has made this last year of his active run more interesting, because I think we thought it was just going to be, kind of a farewell tour where he just wrestles different matches and, maybe he beats Cody in WrestleMania and it's a competitive thing and, they shake hands and that sort of thing. But that to me really didn't have a lot of juice to it. Now it's got some juice to it, and it feels a lot more interesting than it once did. And so now if he wins, Cody now will have to bear that on his conscience, bear that burden. And now we have another story where Cody is kind of fighting from behind and, is probably going to have to face overwhelming odds to try to take back from Cena what Cena took from him. And so I'm kind of excited about that.
Yeah. I'm as of right now, March 25th, 2025, I think Cody loses at WrestleMania, and I think he spends the rest of the year chasing. And I think that works because I think Cody is actually really good at chasing the championship. And I think, I don't think I'm not going to be one of those, those internet marks or smarks that's like, oh my gosh, his reign has been lackluster. I don't think so. I think he has some good matches. I think he's done very well. I think
it's been solid.
Fans still love him. I mean, it's not like he's getting booed out of the building or anything. So, but I think this would, the idea of him having, the Rocky 3 sort of thing, like getting his ass handed to him and having to come back and win it again. I think that's a good compelling story for him. And I think with Cena being heel, it certainly does it. The one thing that is funny to me is, and I'm curious to hear your, quick opinion on this, but is it just me or is this story like 50% more interesting with The Rock completely not involved? Like it's with it's almost like if I just pretend he never was involved with this.
Other than McAfee mentioning Cena selling his soul to The Rock, that's there's really no need for him to be in the story at all. I mean, there's just no need for it. Cena's created a compelling enough story, with his heel turn that we don't need it, and so now if they have to work in some, if Cena needs some extra help and that sort of thing, I mean, have him pull in, some more active wrestlers or something like that. Like we don't need The Rock being the one that does it,
Yeah. But I mean, it probably will be, unfortunately. Although, I mean, we still have Stone Cold going to be at WrestleMania.
Who it could be. That. And this is something Uncle Todd can get behind 110%.
Are we talking Bobby Roode?
John Cena contracts the services of Nia Jax.
Even heel John Cena doesn't hate humanity that much. Even John Cena, who wants to burn the entire world down, is like, you know what? That's a step too far.
I can see him doing it.
Violating the Geneva Convention.
I talked to the final boss, and he has directed me to have Nia come down and be my right hand. And
That would
so-
that would be like after he wins the championship and he just takes over like Raw GM duties from Adam Pearson's. Like every week for the next 6 months, Nia Jax is in the main event. That is how I'm going to further ruin wrestling.
Oh my God.
But that'll never happen, even though most fans
Yeah.
would be like, yes, this is the worst.
Yeah.
This is the worst thing that could possibly happen to us.
Yeah.
But Triple H, won't do that for some reason.
110%. All right. Let us move on
Yes,
from
please.
our spotty watching of Raw last night to, let's see, what do I have?
Some real life adventures.
Oh my gosh, we got to go through this. And I'm going to cut the articles down. We got way too much stuff here. Holy
Well,
crap.
let's just see how it goes here, sir. Those
Run
are
your famous last words. Let's just see how it goes. 11 p.m. later.
Well, at least I didn't type that into Signal.
Fair enough. Look, we said we're going to keep that stuff out of the show.
Daddy's got his medicine. Sorry.
Good God almighty. All right, moving right along. Yes, we both had some adventures over the weekend. And sir, why don't we start with you? Because Friday night,
Yes.
a long time ago for me, I'm trying to think when it was. It was probably 96, 90, probably 97 is more.
So back in the late 20th century.
Back in the late 20th century, close to 27 years, 28 years ago.
You're the one who's good at math.
I attended a show by ECW somewhere in Massachusetts. I don't remember where. It was in a smaller facility.
I'm guessing Lowell.
Could have been Lowell.
The nightclub in Lowell. That sounds about the most ECW thing. Either that or it was East Revere High School.
But I went there with Mr. Avery, Mr. Parker, and we took in an evening of extreme violence by one Mr. Paul Heyman's crew. So much so that we even had the franchise Shane Douglas roll past us and almost boot. I think it was either Mr. Avery or Mr. Parker in the head because one of them had the aisle seat. So
Nice.
and they were brawling up the aisle. So, but nonetheless, but Uncle Todd getting a little bit of the indie wrestling cred build up
Yes,
in
indeed.
his portfolio and his background. You, sir, attended an independent wrestling show this past Friday night. Was it in Portland proper? Was it?
It was in Portland proper, in an area of Portland called Thompson's Point, which used to be this apocalyptic wasteland of old brick buildings with busted out windows and just broken glass and just rusty nails and stuff, and it was like tetanus.
I like you to work the rusty nails in.
It was like it was like a tetanus peninsula next to the Fore River, and now it's done come up, and now it's like there's a major brewery there. They do summer concerts out there. The Children's Museum actually moved out there. Like a whole bunch of stuff going on. There's kind of
it's rebuilt up if the Children's Museum is okay with going.
Yeah. I mean, they do arm the children, but I mean, still,
come get your spear.
it's just in the parking lot.
Don't forget to dip the tip in the poison.
but they have one of the big like warehouses that they have. It's called Brick South, and it's this large brick building, and it's really cool inside because it's very industrial, steel girders, lots of old cool brickwork and all that stuff, and that's where they held this event, and so it's right across essentially the parking lot from Bissell Brothers Brewing, which is a Portland brewery that is kind of in the last several years has gotten kind of a big name in New England, at least. Before they really scaled up their production, like people were like literally lining up to get 4-packs of their beer because they would sell out. So this was the Bissell Brothers Bash. It was sponsored by Bissell Brothers. And this is so Limitless Wrestling is the promotion, and they are
show the shirt.
Oh yeah, hang on. All right. I can't even tell. Hang on, I got to get my screen here so I can see if I'll actually get this. So
I love the luchador mask on the moose head.
Yes,
as God intended it.
That is a very nice touch. I was just going to get a regular because they have just kind of a plainer logo. I was going to get one of those, but they didn't have the T-shirt in black, so I was like, you know what, give me the luchador moose.
And he signed a Keith Lee that night because he was at one point the limitless one.
No, I'm pretty sure he would have stood out. He's a fairly large individual. I think it'd be tough to miss him. So this is a promotion that they're like most small promotions. They're doing AMVETs, VFWs, things like that. This was, I think, their first really big show. They sold 1,200 tickets.
Wow,
for this
nice.
place. And it was a raucous crowd. Like, it was a good crowd, man. Like, people were into it. People were cheering. So good for them. And it was actually a really good show. Like, we got a dark match, dude. And so at bell time was 7. Nice. At 7:15, we got a dark match. I can't remember who the ladies were, but we got a little ladies wrestling to start things off. They were really good. And just throughout the show, like, of course you get, sometimes you're like, okay, nobody consulted this because those two dudes just used the same move in like back-to-back matches. So I don't know how many people were really talking backstage, but the matches were paced out really well. Like, they had some really good matchups. They had a couple of guys who were, really good high flyers. There's one guy, gosh, I'd have to look him up. The thing is, on their website, they don't actually have their roster, and I think that's because they probably have a lot of folks rotating through different different promotions in the Northeast.
Right.
But really, really good matches, solid matches. Like, the promos, some of them are better than others, but they've. I gotta say, like, I was very impressed for an indie show.
It makes me think of was it a reel or a meme that you had sent me on Instagram where it's an old, like, late 70s, early 80s promo with I forget who the wrestler is, but he's like, I'm gonna give him one of these and one of that, and the announcer guy's like, wait a minute, slow down, talk to me here what is your name? I'm gonna give him one of those and one of these.
Not quite that bad, but some of them were a little rougher than others, but it was nice. I mean, and so we had second row seats.
Nice.
And second row right on the entryway. And I think this is because my buddy who got the tickets, he's a photographer, and he's been starting to go to a lot of these shows, and he has a pretty good social media following, so he posts a lot of reels and tags them and all that. So I think they gave him those seats knowing, like, all right, he's going to give him a good vantage point of the entrances. Okay.
And does he bring his good camera to take some shots and stuff like that, or is he?
No, but he has, like, the newest iPhone camera, which is 4K video and crystal freaking clear. So he, there was some good heels. They've got people that you're like, you know what? I do dislike this person. I have no idea. Well, this one guy and his whole thing, his whole shtick, and he was a manager, and then they had a battle royal, and he was in the battle royal, but his whole shtick was he just goes, that's his thing. And I'm like, how do you get over with that? And then, like, 5 minutes into the match, I'm like, you know what? I do dislike this guy because that is annoying as hell.
It's probably what he's going for.
Mission accomplished. It's cheap heat, but it's heat nonetheless.
That is funny.
So it was good. The main event featured Dijak, he of former NXT. Wrestling their champion, and I'm like, there's probably no way that Dijak is winning this because he's a part-time guy in this promotion.
Sure.
And due to shenanigans, go figure, he did not win. Might have been a little drama or something because they did the whole flash paper thing. So there's a manager that they have who apparently is a WWF Hall of Famer somehow, or he was involved in WWF. I don't know if the kayfabing.
Wasn't Danny Davis, was it?
No. And his whole gimmick is he has the world's worst toupee. I was like, dude, the only thing that's missing from that thing is a chin strap. Like, it's fooling no one, which is perfect. And they did the flash paper thing where he threw that in Dijak's face, and I don't know if it got too close or if something happened or whatever, because he was selling quite a bit. But then at the end, like, he just kind of meandered down the aisle and left, and it kind of left, like, the baby faces that came in and made the save afterwards because he was getting beat down.
Right.
And I'm like, this is kind of a very weird ending.
Yeah.
For, like, the whole send him home happy thing. Like, you would think that he would at least get up and hang with the baby faces, but no, he just almost didn't acknowledge them and left. And I'm like, Ugh. It was kind of a downer for an ending of the show, but I think it's probably just one of those things that you can't control. But otherwise, the show is really good. I really enjoyed it, and I told my buddy, I'm like, I'll definitely come back to one of these. I can't say I want to go to the VFW hall up in Falmouth, but but I'll definitely go to like a bigger show, or I might even go to one of those. I don't know, but it was fun, well paced, and good time. So Limitless Wrestling is definitely worth checking out if you're up here in Maine.
Nice.
Some good entertainment, bub.
Very nice. Very nice.
And what about yours? Because I am fascinated with your story. I've got to find out about this.
Okay, so over the weekend, the headline here is I was unofficially inducted into the Alpha Sigma Phi fraternity on the hallowed grounds of Elmhurst University. And what led to this is over this semester, they normally do a recruitment, like every semester. This semester recruitment class was light, and they, I think, wanted to do
they needed to meet the quota.
No. So
we got to hit quota by the end of the semester.
There was a good reason for this. So they wanted to go through, I think in part to get the reps, to get the practice, but also I think, to educate the.
Now, when you say reps, I mean, are we talking with that paddle?
Not with the paddle. No.
Well, that's a bad one.
But to go through the process of what that initiation ceremony looks like. So what I went through should have been across, or when it's done typically for a student, it would happen across a month to a month and a half. So you have one part done, kind of early, like early in a month. You had another part done later in the month, and then you wrap it up with, I think a couple weeks later or something like that. So this was just an afternoon on a Saturday, and it was myself. And so the idea was they wanted to offer this to any dads or father figures for the members that were interested in doing so. And so I volunteered, said, yes, I will do it. Got to meet 3 other fine fathers, whose, sons are in this fraternity. And we had a great time. I can't share a lot about what we had to do. That's part of what I was sworn to secrecy on. But there might have been a secret handshake involved, and some other knowledge handed down from the
shaving
members.
of sensitive areas.
No shaving. No shaving happened in the afternoon, and then we had a nice meal afterward when we were all wrapped up and done. But no, it was very well done. The fraternity did a great job. They were they just did great, and we enjoyed very much the work they put into it. There was a lot of work they put into it.
Was there at least beer pong?
No, there was not beer pong.
The hell's the point?
It's not that kind of fraternity, man.
What kind of fraternity is it? It's like equations and stuff on the
They
wall.
do a lot of service projects. They help in the community.
Oh, okay. Well, you didn't say it was a service fraternity.
Hold on
that's a whole other kettle of fish, sir.
Should have had this ready here.
Oh boy, what do we got here?
But we were in lieu of us getting an actual pin, which the members have, we were presented one of these.
Oh, so you even got you did get a paddle.
Yes, I did get a paddle. So yes.
Nice. So is your fraternity name
Alpha Sigma Phi, and this is Beta Theta.
Ah.
Beta Theta is the designation of our initiation group. So, or better, So,
like the beta testing group, is that what that?
Kind of, in a way.
Well, look at you, sir.
Yeah. So I am.
The Greek is
I
now
say
Greek.
Officially, unofficially, because I'm not. So I'm not on the national organization won't know that we're a part of it. The fraternity itself, they have a roster book, and we signed that. So we're officially members.
So what you're saying is you're basically like a secret agent. You're not acknowledged. You're
kind of.
You are a lone wolf out patrolling.
Although my son, who is part of the fraternity, then decided to. What?
Yeah.
Sorry, what'd you say?
I'm trying to make you sound badass, and then I'm like, yeah, it's probably not. And then you're like, and my son, who's part of the fraternity, I'm like, well, probably like, you're not allowed to hang out.
Not quite a lone wolf, just an honorary member, if you will.
Yes.
But no, my son who's a part of the fraternity, because I was entered into the roster book. There's this thing they do more jokingly than anything else where, if you are a lower number than a more senior member, then the more senior member can ask, say roster and tell you to do something. And so my son is under the idea that he can now roster me to do the dishwasher when I ask him to do the dishwasher at home, to which I said, nah. Those rules do not apply in said house. So yeah, good luck. No, it was
roster thing's cute until you're asking who cuts the checks for the college.
Indeed. So yeah, that was my Saturday activity, was basically getting inducted into a fraternity, and then Saturday night just going to our local watering hole to celebrate.
Of course. If you hadn't gone to Adele's, I would have been very concerned.
I had some pork belly bites, had a couple bourbons to celebrate. It was good. It was good.
Did you at least drink them through a funnel?
No. Sorry. I got to say, Penelope has this new varietal called Valencia. It is kind of similar to my Driftless Glen Naraha one that was like where it's aged in orange barrels.
Okay.
So it has an orange infused flavor to it. So Penelope now has that, and it is excellent. So that was one of the ones I had on Saturday night.
Very nice.
So yes. All right. Well, now
much better than the disappointment that I had with my scotch that I got.
Do you need the mask after you had that one? They should have given you one.
It wasn't terrible. It's just not great.
Oh, jeez.
But okay, and hang on one second.
Go grab it.
I did bring it back from the office.
All right. From HQ.
So, I ask you, listeners, watchers, if you see this.
That is a great bottle.
It is a fantastic looking bottle. Too bad what's
in
it is not fantastic.
But I love that mask, that long beak.
Oh yeah,
because wasn't that a mask that like
Plague Doctor?
Plague Doctor, right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. No, so I should have known. Good spirits do not need a cool looking bottle or a cool looking label.
Indeed.
And yet I lined right up for this one.
You did.
Oh, well. What are you going to do?
You sent me a picture and you're like, can't wait to try this. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I tried it.
Jabroni!
Indeed.
Yeah. Anyways.
So was my story a everything you thought it would be, or was it kind of a letdown?
I mean, I was hoping for, a goat or something.
Good God almighty. This is an old school, son.
Just saying.
One can hope, though. One can hope. Mm-hmm. All right. Moving right along from our weekend shenanigans.
To the actual part of the show here.
Good God. This article from ScreenRant.com, I've entitled, Rest Easy, Star Wars and Marvel Fans. We shan't have an incursion between our two beloved franchises. This article really just boils down to the fact that there was some concern going into next year. And when I say concern, there's a lot of things going on in the world right now. This is probably a concern not at that level. This is more of a, minor hindrance, if you will, if this were to happen.
Not even a minor hindrance. This is like, I don't even know how to describe. This is a hangnail on the hand of first world problems. That's what this is.
Yes, thank you. Well said, sir. Well said. But basically, we were staring down the barrel of a potential incursion between Marvel's release of Avengers Doomsday and Star Wars release of The Mandalorian and Grogu movie. Both
I thought we were talking about like a crossover.
No. Both were slated to be released next May of 2026. Mando and Grogu would have a release date. Let me see. Wait a minute. Star Wars. No, sorry.
How did that even make it to press, dude? Like, how did they not resolve that internally before it got public?
I don't know, but I think Avengers Doomsday would come out on May 1st.
Okay.
Just some months. Yeah. And then Mandalorian Grogu would be released on May 22nd. And so there was some concern if there would be overlap, and that overlap would cause business to not be good for one versus the other. But fear not. This article is reporting that it seems Marvel's Avengers Doomsday is going to get pushed potentially into, I believe, not December. I think October, November timeframe of 2026. So we would have Mandalorian Grogu come out in May, and then Avengers Doomsday would get slotted in around November 2026. Thoughts on that, sir? Can't say this was big on my radar, and quite honestly, it would be kind of foolhardy for Disney to release two of their biggest movies, of the season in the same month.
Yeah.
So I think it's wise to separate them. But what do you think of Mando and Grogu in May, and then Avengers in November?
Well, I was going to say it has to be May. I mean, you have to somewhere around May the 4th be with you, right? I mean, that just has to happen. It is. It's the only thing that's odd to me is like that those two schedules were released without any kind of de-entanglement, that. But then again, I mean, even though it's all owned by Disney, I'm sure, at a certain point, like a lot of these are still operating semi-autonomously.
Yeah.
And, stuff like this happens where then you're like, especially where, Marvel and Star Wars have been nothing if consistent about their inconsistency in how they shuffle around their release dates over the last couple of years. So that can totally make sense to me. I mean, yeah, you have to, and it's not a matter of like, oh, well, if this one pushes off till June, like, no, if either of these movies are as big as they're hoping they are, and they kind of both need to be, considering just where, kind of some of the hits that both have taken, franchises overall have taken, you're hoping for multi-month runs for both of those flicks.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have to give them months and months and months in between. So it totally makes sense. The one I'm kind of wondering about is putting Avengers like that far into, winter. But then again, I also see that
Holiday.
in terms of like, yeah, that's the thing. Like I look at that, I'm like, oh yeah. And especially like you start hearing, in the northern climes, where, might as well go to the movies because everything's starting to freeze and it's miserable and everything's dead outside. So yeah, let's go inside and try and forget that things are happening. So no, totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. I thought at first you were talking about there might be like a crossover because I'm, back in the day, don't chuckle too much. Marvel was the one who released the comic book adaptation of Star Wars and had quite a lengthy run with Marvel Comics. So
I was trying to do
at first I was a little
with the incursion theme and the fact that they
I was
could
concerned
overlap from a release standpoint.
All of a sudden,
they would destruct each other through that overlap.
Yeah, I was a little worried we might, Avengers Doomsday. All of a sudden, you're like, what? That
could be
kind of cool, honestly.
It could happen.
Could.
All right, our next one. Let's see. Another article that supports the rumor that Doctor Doom may layeth the smacketh down on Kang's candy ass. From our friends at gamingbible.com. That's right, Gaming Bible, the Bible of gaming.
I really feel like you have to pronounce that as Kang's candy ace. I believe in that, the way you were going with that.
Candy ace? Okay.
Yeah, candy ace.
Candy ace. I see where you're going.
Gaming Bible? Seriously? That's where we're at?
It's another addition to my portfolio.
This would only be cool if they referred to the different sections of the site by biblical names.
Oh, fair enough. Or call them chapters.
There we go. See, you're much wiser.
Or the book of. Mm-hmm. All right. So why this article? Really, it comes down to, and we may have talked, kind of on the periphery of this in prior episodes, but that there is rumors that we will potentially see Doom basically take care of, eliminate Kang in Avengers Doomsday. Now, one thing that was interesting in this article that it talks about is that it sounds like the Council of Kangs has been dropped. So we did see that in a post credit scene, I think at the end of Ant-Man.
Yes.
And that was put in to kind of help launch into, kind of the next bit of storytelling that was going to happen around Kang. And then reality set in, and well, that character isn't going to be a part of things anymore. So
no.
But it does talk about how it may have been always in Marvel's plan. And again, this could be them spinning, but
Yeah,
it was
I
always
think
in
it
their
is.
plan, that maybe it would have been more of a twist, that Doom was going to reveal himself, in the first movie, and kind of establish himself in a very, not in a similar way, but in some ways as Thanos had done in Avengers Infinity War, by taking out, what was meant to be a major bad guy, and then it was going to, then go into Secret Wars from there. But it does kind of hit on the themes we've talked about before, that or this article hits on some themes that we talked before about with Doom, having resentment towards He Who Remains, the Kang variant who created the sacred timeline. And so that's where the theory comes from, that it sounds like, Doom could be on a mission to take him out, because of the fact, that Doom is looking to, take control of time itself. And we actually have a subsequent article about this, that pertains to Loki, that I can jump into next. But wanted to get your thoughts on this one with Doom taking out Kang.
Well, I thought at first you were talking about it would just be like a very quick, almost, hey, it's Kang, and all of a sudden, Doom comes in and rock bottoms his ass, and we don't hear from him.
That's
no
what they're making it sound like, that they may actually go through the motions of showing Kang. I mean, Kang in a way was destroyed in Ant-Man.
Yes, but we saw all of his variants and
right,
so forth. But
yeah,
what I mean is, so if it's anything more than that, I find it very difficult to believe, because I think here's the thing, like, and I don't know the nature of contracts and everything. I know that part of the strike that was happening with, screenwriters, actors, and all, there's been a lot of concern about AI, and that there have been some contracts that included, or studios were trying to include contracts that essentially said, like, hey, we can now utilize, if we do a full body scan of you, we can then utilize that for purposes of reshoots and this and that and the other. And we're including, of course, like everything they possibly could in that. Kind of makes me wonder, like, did Jonathan Majors sign one of those? And do they legally have the right to generate him with a stand-in, motion capture, and then generate Jonathan Majors on screen in order to kill that character off properly?
Yeah.
I can't see them wanting to do that for a long story arc, but if it's for like a scene or two, I think it would be interesting, because then you're also going to get into a big kerfuffle over this, because I don't know that his legal team would love that, even if it is in the contract. I don't know if they would necessarily do that. And are you going to try and recast it? Or, I mean, wow.
Yeah.
I think as entertaining as this entire thing is, it feels to me much more like a fan theory that would never happen, because in a way, Loki season 2 along with Quantumania gives us a nice, neat way of just going, and thus endeth the story for Kang. Let us all forget that it ever happened.
Yeah.
Like, I can see that being much more the way that Marvel would like this to go, rather than all of a sudden dragging him out of, some dusty, steamer trunk going, hey, you remember this guy?
Here endeth the lesson.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about him? I thought he's like Bruno. I thought we didn't talk about Kang anymore.
Yeah.
I think that's much more the case, that it's just like, yeah, and Kang, he's done. That whole Kang dynasty thing, the whole, Council of Kangs. Oh, well, that got clipped in one of those timelines. Oops. That's what I think.
Interesting.
It is interesting. I just don't think it's likely.
Well, jumping over to screenrant.com, because and I'm kind of I want to not stay on this, but it kind of threads into this a little bit. So the next article I have, which is an interesting theory, has to do with, is Loki's role in this next movie or in the Avengers duology going to be more important and more dark than we originally thought. The title of this article, Loki's Death and the Destruction of All Universes, will be Avengers' doomsday version of Thanos' snap in Infinity War, according to this devastating Marvel theory. And so the idea here, excuse me, and one thing that I think holds true is I have read a fair number of articles that share the theme that the incursions between universes is going to start playing a bigger role when we get into Avengers Doomsday.
God, I hope so.
That we're going to see, these universes starting to do damage to them, to one another, and the consequences of that. We started to see some of that in Doctor Strange 2. He is at least aware of this and is probably going to be the one hero who's going to be trying to prevent some sort of cataclysm from happening. But really what this gets into is that in some ways Loki is going to be this, for this duology of Avengers movies. Loki is in some ways going to be akin to what the Infinity Stones were in the first duology. So in Infinity War and in Endgame, you had the Infinity Stones that were kind of at the core of the snap, and kind of the second snap that brought everything back. Here, the idea is that Loki is going to end up in this theory that Doom is going to basically understand, know about Loki's role, essentially somehow take Loki out, and then take over, really ruling over the remaining universes, somehow folding this all into this battle world concept, that seems to be where Secret Wars is going to take place. And so the idea is that maybe all of the universes are actually destroyed, and Doom creates Battleworld to be kind of the dumping ground for whatever is left or whatever comes out of that. I don't know enough about Battleworld to speak intelligently about it.
Yeah, me
but
neither.
But I think it's an interesting theory that Doom ends up being the one who takes out Loki, and Loki dying in Doomsday would actually be an interesting mirror to his first, kind of version of Loki, his passing in Infinity War, where he did die in the first movie, which set the pace, kind of sets forward the pace of events that happens there. So, thoughts on this theory, because I feel in some ways it could be way out there. In other ways, it's an interesting idea to kind of establish the nastiness of Doom. It takes Loki, who has turned himself into a hero character who is ruling over all these, essentially the multiverse, and now, turns him into this sacrificial character who falls to Doom, who Doom takes over now, through whatever means, either ruling the multiverse or bringing the multiverse together into this battle world or whatever. But it's an interesting idea that Loki's kind of the key to this. And then from there, it kind of plays into, well, where does everything go? Because now if Doom, if the universes do start all kind of destroying each other, and Doom's battle world is the only kind of out for heroes or people to exist in, what does that now mean? Does it start playing into the idea that the MCU is going to reboot itself because of the fact that everything will be destroyed at that point? So it just kind of opens the door for a lot of interesting possibilities. But like, just stepping back to the first part of this, what do you think about Loki being that sort of analog to the the Infinity Stones and the Gauntlet?
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, I hope they do something with it, because we've danced around. I feel like the multiverse is kind of akin to what I was saying about the gap between Elimination Chamber and WrestleMania. Like, good sweet God, can we get on with this? Like when you were saying, oh yeah, and this is when universes start colliding. I'm like, I hope so, because we've been promised this for I don't know how long, and it has not happened. and it's getting very frustrating at this point that this is the multiverse saga, and I'm like, we have yet to actually really get there, except for the TV show with Loki, and even then we're dibbling dabbling around it, and it's like, my God, enough foreplay. Let's actually like see something happen, you know. And so in that way, yes, it would actually tie this in on several different levels and finally get this thing kicked into gear.
Yeah.
And it does make sense because Loki again has redeemed himself as a character on several occasions now, and is kind of playing this ultimate hero role, and is even as a bad guy was still kind of likable. So it makes sense. I'm not sure how it would all work out, if it would work out the way you're saying, or the way that they're Screen Rant is saying, or whatever. But it's like anything at this point to kind of get us to there, I'm in favor of.
Yeah.
I mean, anything at all.
And it would create a sense of I think what's been missing through these phases, the phases that have happened since Endgame, is the sense of stakes. Like, I think the multiverse has been a very abstract concept and not something that has been explained terribly well. I mean, it's been explained in pockets. We get a little bit from the Loki TV series. We got a little bit.
Like it's been over-explained, dude. And it's like they gave you
no,
official
I disagree.
I feel like it is.
I disagree.
Okay, I feel like I feel like What If has done a better job of getting us to multiverse than anything that they've done in live action. I feel like I'm like, okay, I'm ready. I feel like I've gotten enough explanation. I just want to see this thing happen.
But that's but you just proved my point. It's too abstract. Like you are looking for something more concrete.
Well, yeah, but but not as an explanation. Like, I just want
not so much
show
as an
it to me.
explanation, but it's just there's
I thought you said it hadn't been explained. So if
it hasn't, because it takes different forms. In Loki, it goes from being the sacred timeline into all of these vines or threads that Loki pulls together and holds on to, and that's what his existence is now, is making sure all that stays up. And then you have Doctor Strange, who's jumping between universes. You have What If, where you have the whatever his name is, the Seeker or the Watcher, who's jumping between things, and it just feels a little bit like what is it exactly? At least when we had phases 1 through 3 and we had the linear storytelling that was going on, we had a sense of, okay, this is the past, this is the present, we're moving toward the future. We know Thanos is out there. It felt like you kind of had a sense of the players and how things were moving. For this multiverse thing, it just feels like, who, what, where, when, how. I mean, it just feels all over the map. And
but that's the thing. I feel like they've explained the concept, and I'm like, okay, I get it. Different multiverses, they got numbers, everything is different. Same people in some cases, some people dead, some people alive, some people different, and all that. Like, okay, got it. Let's start telling some stories with this, instead of then being like, well, that's, now the multiverse thing didn't happen. Ha, great. But then, now the multiverse is coming here. The multiverse and I'm like, just start telling me a story that isn't about like the approach to the multiverse. Like, let's actually get the show on the road. Like, I don't need 8 different movies and TV shows to be like, ooh, multiverse. Like, dude, you're putting it to a point where the payoff is never going to equal the amount of time you've put into this. Like, I would rather 4 movies ago we actually started this story and then told me a bunch of different stories, even if it's in different universes that don't necessarily cross. At least it's something that's starting to but add a little tension to this.
We haven't actually seen an incursion take place in the effects of it. We've heard
exactly, which is why I am
okay. But
that's about this.
But that's what I'm talking about. We haven't gotten. Sorry, yes, we have an explanation of what the multiverse is, but I mean something deeper than that, right? Like, great, we know that there's all these universes. What happens when 2 of them cross or collide, or how do they even incursion on one another? Like, I don't even understand that. It's just it's something that's been said. I don't understand what causes it,
because they haven't shown.
Right.
They've been telling, and they haven't been showing.
We're saying the same thing, basically.
Yes, we are.
We're saying the same thing.
Yes, we are.
I just think the bourbon is getting in the way.
No, I think we're just being pig-headed about it.
Yeah,
I haven't had
probably.
nearly enough bourbon to start fighting with you about nothing.
All right.
Give that about an hour.
Yeah, indeed. But I think we're, I wouldn't say we're against this theory. I don't know that we're all in on it, but it is. I think it's a workable theory. I think it's something that if they did
Yeah.
it, makes sense because it establishes a sense of stakes for the heroes to
Mhm.
try to overcome. It if you have this sacrifice of Loki, you have a cherished character who is really gone at this point. There isn't going to be another one.
Are we sure? Because is anyone ever really gone in comics?
I don't know. Well, I'm not going to work another article in, but I did see something today that Elizabeth Olsen is pretty much confirmed she is not going to be in this duology coming up. Now, whether she's saying that to throw a red herring up, who knows? But
It's a
this is what she
swerve.
says. So, but let's move along. This is an interesting theory. I think it's something worth considering, and it'll be interesting
Yes.
if they carry it forward. Our last one.
Hold on a second, sir. I do need to use the restroom. I apologize. I thought I was going to make it to the whole Week in Geek, and unfortunately, I am not. I will be back though very shortly.
A few moments later.
Let's wrap this up. So,
Yes.
our final story. This is from. Let me just check real. Yeah. I guess Yahoo.com is where it's coming from.
That's still a thing?
Apparently so.
Wow. Let me go check and see if Alta Vista's still out and about.
This one confirms something we talked about either last episode or one prior. Russo brothers confirmed Tony Stark's death in Endgame is part of Doctor Doom's story in Avengers Doomsday.
Yes, I do remember this.
And but we were talking about as a theory. This is now confirmation from the men who are leading this up. And that is interesting. Their quote is, "We can't explain that as it's part of the story, but there's nobody else in the world who could play this character the way he's about to," referencing Robert Downey Jr. playing Doctor Doom. Let me see. I thought there was another quote in there that talked about this. Let's see. Yeah, when pressed about Tony Stark's tragic sacrifice in Endgame, Anthony Russo teased an unexpected connection, saying, "We can't explain that as it's part of the story." So Tony's death is going to play into the story somehow.
Okay.
So Tony Stark's death wasn't just the emotional conclusion of the Infinity Saga. It was the beginning of something much bigger. And so this cryptic statement has led fans to speculate wildly about how the legacy of Iron Man is tied to the rise of Doctor Doom.
Fans speculating wildly? The hell you say?
I don't know why.
I mean, we've made 200 episodes out of it, so
yes. So that is in essence the article. What are your thoughts on that, sir? Because it goes into why Robert Downey Jr. is the perfect casting choice for Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. But thoughts on this being confirmed?
Well, I mean, the thing is, if you're going to have Downey play Doom, it kind of has to, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It either had to be tangential or adjacent, or however you want to put it. But I mean, if you're directly relating it, then yes, it makes sense, because it's like, even playing the character differently, even if he puts on an accent, even if it looks differently, blah 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 blah, it's still the same dude. Like it's still the same dude, and as good of an actor as I believe Robert Downey Jr. is, and I think he is a very, very good actor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed.
It's tough to get past that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that totally makes sense. And I wonder if this is not the thing that brought the Russo brothers back. The idea of, oh, if we can tie these two things together, now we've got a way into this story.
Yeah.
Because I remember that being a thing that they mentioned in terms of this. Like, they weren't really interested until they kind of were like, oh wait, here's our way of like starting to peel the orange, if you will. You have to get that first bit in there. And I wonder if this wasn't it. Like, they're them saying like, oh, this relates to this. Oh, and now this, and then this, and then and it's like, oh, this makes sense now. Yes. Where do we sign?
Yeah.
And by the way, here's our Swiss bank account numbers. Make sure there's lots of zeros. Because why not? I mean, dude, They made all the money before. I mean, they're well worth it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm all in on this. Makes total sense.
Yeah. No, I think it's interesting, and it kind of plays along with the idea. I forget the exact quote, but I thought it was in either Infinity War or the beginning of Endgame. It must have been the beginning of Endgame when they start talking about the time heist. But there's either Tony, I think it was Tony, must have mentioned, or maybe Banner, that when you start playing with time, there's always consequences, and so I think it kind of plays into that theme of, Tony got the gauntlet, he snapped his finger, he took out Thanos, but there was still a consequence, because of the action. It's like there is no move that you get for free. There is a cost. And so,
and does tie in. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so I just think it's interesting that they are continuing that thread, because no amount of, manipulation or shenanigans that the heroes do would ever fully restore things back to the way they once were, or fully eliminate the threat that Thanos posed. Now, it doesn't mean Thanos is coming back, but now they have this other thing now, Doctor Doom, who we don't really know how that's getting tied in. But if in fact Tony's snap does lead to events that cause Doom to rise and kind of do his thing, it's going to be interesting to see how they bring those things together. And so well, everyone's got a price for the $1 Million Man.
But it does beg a question that, because this further makes Tony an even more tragic character, because there was a bit of tragicness about him and his character, and that moment, heroic moment he has at the end. Because really the Infinity Saga was really had a lot to do with the hubris of Tony Stark and Ultron, and all of these things, and everything that he could foresee and that he couldn't prevent, and then finally being able to be like, hey, I did it. Everything is cool. The fact that this then propels you into this further dark timeline, it's like, damn it, like he fixed it, but yet at the same time now you get this other thing, and it just makes Tony Stark that much more tragic. Now it makes me wonder, like, how do you write that? Do you then have a tour de force in Secret Wars of Tony Stark facing down Doctor Doom? Do you have does Robert Downey Jr. go all Peter Sellers and plays like 4 or 5 different parts here, or do we have Chris Evans reprising Captain America one more time to come back for his buddy, who he made amends with? And then Cap makes the ultimate sacrifice, and he neatens up the whole idea of like, Cap lost in time. Which is another, going back to that, I was thinking about this past week, because we were watched a bit of Winter Soldier, Captain America Winter Soldier, and then Kaylin was watching Winter Soldier and Falcon. And it's like, okay, I mean, so he hands off the shield to Falcon, and then I don't know, goes and walks the earth. But it's like, dude, did he drop dead like 5 minutes later? Like, so we never hear from Steve after that, with for any of these things, like. So, anyways, that would help to neaten up that little loose thread. But makes sense. I'm all for it.
Yep. I'm excited. That's all I got.
All right.
My friends, is a neat and tidy Week in Geek.
Week in Geek for our first inaugural separate Week in Geek Wednesday. So we're going to try and do this. We'll see how long this lasts. We've got another thing, which is our suggestion of cool things or stuff that we just happen to like for our viewers / listeners. And now we need to come up with 2 of these per week for 2 different shows. So
killing me, Smalls. You're killing me.
We'll see how long this lasts.
This is all under the banner, ladies and gentlemen. Uncle Todd was like, "Oh, this will make things simpler." It's like,
what can I say? I like to solve one problem and create 5 others.
Fair enough. You've done that.
It's the Hydra method. I got to come up with a new name for that. So what do you got for another thing for Week in Geek Wednesday?
I'm going to keep this simple, ladies and gentlemen. The Google TV streamer device. We had, if you are like us,
your Chrome stick days are done,
and had a Chromecast. We're still using Chromecast as well. We have it on one of our other TVs, but if you went through the expired certificate debacle that happened 2 or 3 weeks ago, where you could no longer stream anything to your television because your Chromecast was essentially bricked. I went and looked at other alternatives and found this wonderful device, which is the follow-on from the Chromecast, which is Google TV Streamer. It has all the apps on it, and you can stream through it, but you can also just run the apps natively on it, and it is wonderful. So signed into all of our accounts on Apple TV Plus, on Paramount Plus, Disney Plus, all of the pluses.
All the pluses.
All the pluses.
The plus.
I'm trying to think what else. Sling
How
TV.
long someone does that? Like they decide to name a streaming service not plus, and then it's plus.
Plus.
That ought to be our thing.
Plus.
The plus.
But I gotta tell you, like, and it comes with a remote control, which I know is similar to an Apple TV box as well. But it's just a wonderful device to use now. It's so just, again, as someone who is streaming, and again, how much effort am I really putting into stream a show? Now I don't need to do that. I just fire it up. I pick the app I want. I find the show I want. Boom, boom, boom. Off I go. So if you're looking for something as an alternative to casting or streaming, do check out Google Streamer.
I love how we talk about some like this convoluted thing for streaming, which I mean, I get it. It is a pain in the ass, but we talk about it like it's so arduous. Like it's not like you have the rabbit ears on top of your TV.
No.
And that everybody had to stay in their specific spot the room. Those sort of things.
This is a hangnail on the toe of first world problems.
Indeed it is.
What is yours, sir?
My and another thing is going to be very simple and quick. It's Limitless Wrestling here in the great state of Maine. Do check them out. They have shows upcoming. I think they've got one there. I think they're running monthly shows right now. I think they've got one in April. There's one coming up in May, which is going to be at the Westbrook Armory, which apparently is a big deal. I still have no idea where the hell the Westbrook Armory is. I might get tickets to that one. I believe that one's beginning of May-ish. But you go to their website and they have all their shows and all that stuff. You can buy merch, all that stuff. They actually have a very active YouTube channel. And in fact, when they were doing the show at Brick South, they were doing multi-camera. So they were, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of clips coming from that. I think they might have even been streaming on YouTube, or maybe they have some sort of subscription or something. I don't know. But they did have a couple of moments when they were like waiting to come back from, their break or whatever. So I'm not sure how all that works. I didn't ask. I probably should have, but yeah, I was enjoying a seltzer. So check out Limitless Wrestling and buy some merch and stuff. Support your indie wrestling show.
Nice.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of our first Week in Geek Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to keep this real simple. You can subscribe to this show the same as you subscribe to our other show at freerangeedc.com. You can find us there. All the episodes will be there. All the Week in Geek episodes will be there, labeled as Week in Geek, handily enough. And you can download them there, as well as our other show, Free Range EDC. You can find all of those there. You can subscribe to the Podbean app. All these will also be streaming on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, blah, 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 all those places. They'll also all be on the YouTubes as well for full video, as well as Spotify will have video as well. We're going to be on the YouTubes. None of that is changing. All those are at Free Range EDC. We're on Facebook, the Instagram, and the YouTubes. And ladies and gentlemen, do check it out. Every Wednesday will now be Week in Geek Wednesday, so you can find the show then. And then a couple days after that, you can join us for Free Range EDC Friday. See how we did that alliteration? We are clever like that. Thank you for joining us here on Wednesday. We'll catch it in a couple days where we will be talking about, we'll be doing our 200th episode, which actually is, never mind, I'm not going to do the math on that. Our 200th episode, which is going to be the first half of our March Madness bracketology, which will be just at the very end of March, but whatever. And we're going to be talking about wrestling finishing moves. So you definitely don't want to miss that. It will not have its own Week in Geek. We're going to get right into the subject at hand. So do join us then. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, the man they call Tim is going to take us out officially. got to say something to finish this.
Oh, I thought you were hitting like something on the sound. You did the look where you normally hit something.
No,
on the sound.
you usually finish up the show. Like I know we're not going to do our we're not doing your lengthy outro for this. So I just wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of just like take her home.
Well, normally I would say that the range is closed, but for us,
the
now
week
it's
is
on the
geeked.
round. Now it's
Have we properly geeked the week?
hell was that?
I don't know.
You know something? I'm gonna go back to an old outro we used to do that I haven't done in a long time. Gosh. We thank you for listening. This has been your Week in Geek. Please hit the lights on the way out.
I like a Mussolini.
Now get the hell out of here!